The first thing you should remove from your resume immediately is the objective statement. You know, this is the statement at the top of the resume where you write things like, I'm looking for a fast-paced job in a dynamic environment where I can grow my career as an underwater basket weaver. The reason why you should remove the objective statement is it only serves to disqualify you. When the resume reviewer looks at a resume like that with that objective statement, they'll look at it and say, oh, it's too bad this person is looking for jobs in underwater basket weaving because all of our openings are only in above ground basket weaving. This resume goes straight to the trash. Don't give the resume reviewer any ammunition to throw your resume away. The second thing you should remove from your resume immediately is your picture. If you have your picture on your resume and you're not applying to be a model or an actor, it probably doesn't belong there. Actually, it can hurt you. Many resume reviewers consider headshots on resumes to be unprofessional and tacky. I know social media and LinkedIn have taught us that our picture needs to be on top of everything that is ours, but not on top of your resume. The third thing to remove from your resume are your hobbies and interests if they're not related to the job you're applying for. Yes, it might be great that you like to play the harmonica in your spare time, but unless you're applying to a bluegrass band, probably not so useful. Now, it could be useful to list your hobby if, say, you're applying to be a video game developer and in your spare time, you actually like to develop indie video games for mobile phones. That's a really good one to list, but you might want to leave off the fact that you participate in those Civil War reenactments every weekend. The hiring manager doesn't really care what you do in your free time. Though actually, they might care about what you do in your spare time if they find it political or weird, then they might go, oh, I don't want anybody to work here that does that on the weekend. The fourth thing you should remove are references. If you've got that section at the bottom that says, please call these people to check that I'm a good employee, just go ahead and get rid of it right now. If employers want references, they will absolutely ask you for them, typically in a different format than on your resume. Most job employers don't call references today anyway because they find calling references useless. Why are calling references useless? Well, because you only list the good references for them, and so the people that they're going to be calling are the ones who are only going to say great things about you. Are you going to list your reference that fired you in your last job on there? Of course you aren't. Now, if you really feel like you need to list references, then just put one line that says references available upon request. But I actually don't think you even need to do that because of course references are available on request. If you're applying for a job and your recruiter asks for them, of course you'll give it to them. The other reason you might want to remove your references is this can also serve to disqualify you depending upon the type of references you put on there and their relationship to you. For example, I once looked at one resume that an individual listed their dentist as their reference. Would you give that person a job interview that their best reference was their dentist? The fifth thing you should remove are soft skill buzzwords. You know the ones: highly motivated, critical thinker, team player. These sorts of phrases don't say anything. Instead, you should demonstrate in your resume how you are one of those buzzwords. For example, if you want to demonstrate that you're a team player, instead of saying team player, you should say you've worked across large teams of many people, coordinated across different departments. Demonstrate in your resume how you are those things instead of just listing the words. And it's not just me who says this. Actually, careerbuilder.com, they did a survey of hiring managers and they cited that some of their biggest resume turnoffs are the phrases best of breed, go-getter, think outside the box, synergy, and people pleaser. If you include any of these terms in your resume, you will likely not be pleasing the people that you want to please with your resume, and that is the hiring manager. The sixth thing you want to remove from your resume is the word I. I invented a new underwater basket weaving device. I doubled profits in the company. You don't want that in your resume. Your resume is about you. It is implied that those are the things you did. Therefore, you don't need to use the word I. In addition to just looking repetitive, it's just not the style that people write resumes in. Even worse than the word I is using the word we, because if you talk about the things that we did, then the hiring manager doesn't know what you did. Instead, you're taking credit for the team instead of your accomplishments. So write things without the word I, without the word we, and definitely Don't write a weird third person where you use your name. Chris doubled profits in the company. That one, just super strange. Number 7, you should immediately remove unprofessional email addresses. What's an unprofessional email address? I've got them in 3 categories. The first category of unprofessional email addresses are old or outdated ones that scream you are not tech savvy and you haven't heard of the internet. For example, if you still have an AOL.com or a CompuServe email address, you might want to consider getting with the times and getting one with Gmail or Outlook, a more modern email provider. The second category are email addresses that maybe you got when you were 15 years old in high school, handsome guy, 44. That's probably not a good one. Just get an email address that has your first and last name. And definitely don't use an email address for your current employer. That just screams to your new employer that you'll use their computing resources for inappropriate activities. Number 8, you should remove really old job positions from your resume. Anything that's older than 10 or 15 years, employers really don't care about, because the rate that the world changes today, things that you did that long ago likely don't help with what you're gonna do right now. If you're applying for a job to be in a circus and it so happens that you worked at McDonald's, but you didn't work on the trapeze at McDonald's, you worked at the cash register, but you're applying for the circus as the trapeze artist, well, you should only list things on your resume that are related to circuses, trapeze, and acts like that. You can leave off all those high school jobs, particularly when they were more than 15 years ago. Don't waste the space on all that old cruft. Spend your space on your couple most recent jobs. They're the most applicable, and things that are get older have less space and less paragraphs in those sections. Until you get to 10 or 15 years where you just don't list it anymore. The 9th thing you should leave off your resume are big words. Look, I know you're smart and you want to tell the hiring manager that you're smart as well, because you can use big words like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Don't do it. Use small words, plain English. For example, don't use the word utilize when you can use the word use. Don't use the word myriad when you can use the word many. And definitely don't use the word a myriad like people say, oh, I achieved a myriad of objectives, because that isn't even a word. Myriad is a synonym for many. So myriad is just like saying many, but why would you use myriad when you could use many? By the way, if you didn't know what the word myriad is, see, you're not the only one. And if you read that on a resume, you'd just be scratching your head. And you don't want the hiring manager to be scratching their head. You want the hiring manager to be looking at your resume going, this is the perfect candidate. I understand everything they've written here, so I'll definitely understand them when they're working here. And the extra bonus is that smaller words take up less space on your resume, so you can have more impactful stuff because you've made the words smaller. Well, if you are in the market looking for jobs, you might actually want to watch my video right here about how to write a resume that will get you job interviews. And if you're in the interview market, you might want to watch my video here about tips for video interviews. As usual, I won't say goodbye because I'll see you in one of those videos. Links are also in the description below.